hear from eCard around system overview, and then we're going to hear from YMCA of Greater Philadelphia about the results with eCard and some of the insights that they have to provide us. We'll do a very quick closing comments, and then we'll have a section to be able to ask questions if there are any questions. I'd like to start by just pointing out that we are using a platform called Meetup. You hopefully have seen the invites. The reason we're using Meetup is because it's going to allow us to have to orchestrate the user group and to have a record of the events that we're going to have a place for you to see the other members and discuss things with them from this Meetup platform. So by all means, if you haven't signed up for a Meetup account yet, please do. You will receive another email from us. The discussions area is wide open. We did not lock down any of this. We feel it really, the goal of this user group is to share and collaborate information. We recognize that the YMCAs specifically, but a lot of people talk outside of this group, but we also recognize that some people maybe aren't part of those groups or don't talk, and there's a need for a coordinated user group. So that's why we're initiating this. But make no doubt, this is your user group. So we'll get into a little later what we want to hear from you guys and make sure that we're presenting what you guys want to hear or coordinating what you guys want to hear. We have the first event, as we mentioned, and the two speakers that we're having for this first event are Craig Milius, the CEO of eCard, and the second speaker is going to be Mark Morrison, who's the VP of IT for YMCA of Greater Philadelphia. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is pass it over to get into that second line of the system overview and a little bit more about eCard and what it offers. And in order to do that, we're going to actually pass over the presentation to Craig. So I'll let you present, Craig, and thank you for presenting.
Yes, thank you, Matthew, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here and provide, we hope, some educational information for the folks in attendance today. Are we good?
Yep, I think so.
All right.
All good.
Well, again, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Appreciate the opportunity. What we are going to talk today about is the intelligent advantage in membership retention. And we'll be providing intelligent payment processing solutions today to YMCAs, YWCAs, Boys and Girls Clubs, as well as many for-profit community centers out there as well. So a little bit about eCard. So eCard, solutions for declined credit and debit card transactions. The company was founded in 2009, but our history actually goes back to the late 90s when the RCK and paper checks were popularly written. We actually were one of the first companies to take a paper check back in the late 90s, convert that into an electronic item, and then represent that back into a consumer's bank account for payment. So again, company was founded in 2009 for credit and debit card transactions, but we kept all that data in algorithms. And what that developed into is an intelligent payment gateway. And the intelligent part we'll get into, but that is what separates us from the thousands of other payment gateways that are out there today. Anybody can process a payment and get your association and approval, but it takes a gateway like ours to take it a few steps further, and we'll talk about that. We are an industry leader in electronic check, EFT, and credit and debit card recovery. Currently today, just in the YMCA market, we serve over 350 Metro YMCA locations. We're compatible with all the major credit cards, and most importantly, we are PCI compliant. So what we're going to talk about today is MLTV, Member Life lifetime value. It's something that every association strives for. Most of you know what that is. What the goal is try to extend that and keep members on with your association as long as possible. Now, what a lot of people don't know is the number one reason a member leaves an association is not because they didn't like the services or the camps or the programs or what you all do for the community. That isn't the reason why they left your association. The number one reason is called involuntary churn. Involuntary churn means that their payment did not go through, and at the end of the cycle, you could never catch up on a new payment method for that particular member. So they're now off the books. They're no longer a member. What we've learned in our 20 plus years is 8 to 10% of all those membership, child care, and program payments are going to fail. And they're going to fail for various reasons. We'll talk about them. Hard declines, soft declines. But at the end of the day, what that takes is a lot of staff time. Staff time chasing members down, writing emails, sending them out, and stopping them at the front gate, taking time, embarrassing situations. What we've learned is, typically on average, the YMCA and other associations are about 50% successful in their own recovery methods. Introducing the eCard Recovery Suite. This suite was actually developed for YMCAs that accept checks, ACHs, and credit cards for payment of service. Now, your association will process your payments just like you do today. Nothing changes. In fact, the only thing that changes is we automate this whole process through the Avocado software. And the end result will be you'll see increases in membership retention by 20 to 40%. Let's get into how we do that. Okay, step one of the recovery suite, and this is very important, is account updater. So if your association is utilizing a payment processor out there and they have account updater available, highly recommend that you explore that. We do it a little differently than in some companies. We do it on a proactive basis, meaning we are out there proactively twice a month, hitting up the issuing banks, asking for updates on all the files that we have. Once we have those updates are stored back in our vault. And what that does is that boosts your association's cash flow, because now you receive about 20 to 30% less declines just by proactively updating those cards ahead of time. This is going to reduce the amount of manual time that your YMCA is making today trying to catch up in those updates. And this is a Visa, MasterCard, Discover sponsored service. Step two of the process, intelligent representment. So what we know is 30 to 35% of all those failures are what we call hard rejects. Those are the type that the card is expired, it's invalid, maybe they canceled the service or the card. Those are hard rejects. 60 to 65% of all your failures make up a soft decline. And that's what we're going to talk about here. The card's good, the account's active, but the timing wasn't good this month. Instead of the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, or maybe the 18th of the month was the best day to capture that payment. Our system knows. Through 25 years of payment data, we've developed a payday software. We convert over 70% of those soft declines into approvals. That reduces the amount of manual time spent at your association chasing down members. Guaranteed the increased revenue by decreasing your involuntary churn. Step three. As good as we are in updating cards and recovering on those soft declines, there's still going to be some out there that we couldn't capture. We couldn't update. We couldn't get their payment to go through. So we developed a cloud-based service called Contact Manager. Because again, at the end of the day, your association is spending staff time doing the same very thing. They're making phone calls, they're stopping members at the gate, whatever the case may be. What we do is we develop Contact Manager to help your staff automate that whole process. And what I mean by that is you can reach the right member with the right message at the right time through a telephone call or a text message. Those are by far the two best mediums to use when trying to contact a member. Now, Contact Manager was originally developed in response to those last 10, 15% of those members that we just couldn't capture. We're reaching out to them with a phone call, talking to Mr. Smith about the membership and how much his membership is of value within the organization, but we couldn't get his payment to go through. So if you would, please push 1 on your phone now, and let's connect and get this cleared out. So instead of your association dialing for dollars, you'll let the cloud do it. When they've contacted that member, the member then engages by pushing 1 and is transferred over to your location. Same thing with text. What we found out with a text message and delivering messages for our customers is 90% of those texts that go out will be opened and responded to within 3 minutes. It's very, very useful. And what this has developed into is not just a let's engage the members for payments, but now it's grown into, let's get them to sign up for camps and let's let them know about the classes and the Y programs we have. By the way, every once in a while we get an emergency where a pipe breaks and we need to close a location, or a weather-related announcement needs to go out immediately. This system is equipped to do that. It can literally send off tens of thousands of messages all at once. It can do it instantaneously with a click of a button, or it can be prearranged and set up. So through the recovery suite, through Account Updater, through Intelligent Representment, and through a Contact Manager, we can get your retention rate anywhere from 80 to 90% and above. And the benefits through all this is, for example, multiple merchant accounts. You'll hear Mark from the Philadelphia Y talk a little bit more about this, but through our system, you can set up merchant accounts, multiple merchant accounts that will benefit your association by setting up the proper what we call interchange charges for example, non-for-profits. Monies funneled through those particular merchant accounts receive a far less cost to the association. Same thing with childcare. And then everything else out there is all basically the same. So there's an opportunity to lower your current merchanting costs just by placing the proper merchant ID with the proper SIC code. Now you can also lower your hard processing costs. We've been doing this for a long time. We process somewhere in the ballpark of over $50 million a month in processing for the YMCA. So we extend those low rates back down to the associations as well. We will increase that membership lifetime value, guaranteed. With an average recovery rate from 70 to 90%, that is going to boost your revenue. It's also going to reduce your staff time chasing collections, which is going to allow them to focus on the mission of servicing your members. And the beauty of this, it's fully automated within that Avocado software. Getting started? Basically contacting your Avocado rep or myself.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Greg.
You bet.
We do have a question and answer area at the end. So I'm going to actually just close your presentation and actually ask Mark to present his section, because we'll move over to hear from Mark, VP of IT from YMCA of Greater Philadelphia. You're on mute, Mark, as well, just so we preemptively address that.
Yeah, my best speaking has been on mute. That's the history of that. And thanks for the invitation to join in and chat with you all about the experience that we've had, both with Avocado and eCard transactions and what that has meant. And I'd kind of frame it by saying TechShare has helped to build all of the connection in Avocado to work with the eCard gateway and allow that to be seamless throughout the experience. So that's a really important element there to kind of begin. First off, is my screen visible there on the presentation? We're good there? Okay.
Looks good. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about what this means for a gateway service. So the gateway sits between your Avocado platform and your merchant accounts, and it does some routing across there, and that provides some real value because then we have data integration moving directly between those systems. So right from Avocado moves into the gateway, from the gateway then to your merchant accounts. And that position really presents the opportunity for this kind of integration and efforts there. As Craig mentioned, one of the things that we found some terrific value with, and that is making use of better interchange rates based on the different accounts. And that has to be done by looking in Avocado at the exact product and service that you're providing, and then the location that it's at, and then routing that transaction off to the correct processor, and then going out to that corresponding merchant account. And this is as a result, we have 17 different branches. We use 3 different category codes, one for charitable donations, which is the lowest interchange rate. Then another for childcare, which is a little bit higher. And then the third is everything else. And by everything else, we kind of, at a membership organization, we fall into the same rate as a country club. And so they do not make any deals for low interchange rates for country clubs. And consequently, that's a high cost. So by helping to do that, that is handled automatically through that process. That also, because eCard works with a lot of different processors, we were also able to go out and actually conduct an RFP with various banks and providers there to say, who can give us the best deal on that, because there are costs on every account. There are costs per month, per item, the complexity of putting that together, how many fees and so forth are associated with it. There's a little bit of time and effort to put into that to come up with the best ROI for what really makes sense. And we were able to then work with Fulton Bank in our area. We had very good proposals from TD and from others, but they were able to put that together and really provide us the best value. So that combination, we resulted with 54 unique merchant accounts right now. And as I said, that's pretty seamless through the process. A little bit of setup to get there, but that part has been really tremendous. So the other major component is what we refer to as rerun, but that's the intelligent representment, as Craig puts it much more eloquently than me. That process looks like this. When there are declines, we know that once in a while there'll be a fairly quick resolution. The member of the individual may know, oh, so yeah, something went wrong and take care of it right away. But often they don't. And getting that kind of into a work queue to manage those declines can be pretty time consuming. Craig indicated correctly, that this is the leading predictor of an at-risk membership. That is to say they're most at risk because of declined payments. So having a way to do this systematically really is critical. And I don't think it'll be a surprise to anyone if I tell you that most of the YMCA staff, who I think are wonderful, incredible, great service oriented, they're just not very good at collections. That conversation, they don't do very well at it. They're not very successful and they don't like it. They do like to give away things. They like to do anything for the member. I love them for that, but we need to have a partner at work that is good at that. Now, not all of these declines are collectible. Some of the hard declines cannot be collected, and you're going to have to get a different payment method put together to solve that problem. So that portion of it, I think, is always going to be on the organization. That's the conversation that you do have to have with members and work through that. But by peeling away the really large volume of these so-called soft declines, letting a partner take that portion on and work at it effectively is a great strategy, and that produces a really kind of a valuable experience. So here's the way that we've done this. This business model basically says they hold for 48 hours, and then if that payment is still out in decline status, eCard collects those and represents them back to the member. And if they are successful in their collection, they also present the member with a fee for doing that. Now, we want to be very fair and equitable to the individuals. So this is the kind of the sliding fee scale that we've put together to make sure that stays with some caps. No more than $30 in fees in a monthly period. And on that individual transaction, if the return fee is based on the original amount. So if it was a $15 or smaller fee and it was returned, declined, represented, the return fee back to the member is $10 and so on. So it's a pretty equitable solution, and that's what helps drives the success of this. The better job that eCard does, that builds their context here. But it's done, and I got to say, in a very fair and equitable approach. And frequently, if we have a scenario where something went wrong in our charging, we perhaps shouldn't have charged that member, or we had a duplicated charge, we went out, there were declines, and those declines were collected, and it was not fair to the member. We contact eCard and say, can you please refund those the fees that you've charged them, and we do that on a ongoing basis. So it's not most of that's all automated, but some of this, we have a follow-on working directly with eCard to kind of handle that. And I've got to say, their ethic, their speed of response, their customer service on it, really, truly exceptional. We had a scenario where a member had several declines, had some fees, and then suffered some very unfortunate circumstances that we became aware of, and we were working with them to get all of those refunded. eCard actually went above and beyond that, and not only refunded those fees, but actually helped pay a couple of the members' fees for them, just because they're humans. You know, they're kind of good community-minded folk and working right along. So when I say strong effort to be fair, it's no understatement. As I mentioned, we use a little bit of a configuration to delay the initial representment of declined payments, and that has worked well in terms of the automation back and forth. And you know, there are points in time where for ACH, certainly we've got, it may take a while to get that back. But and also the automation here, just in terms of getting that data back in to Avocado, we always want to make sure that we're not pushing anything out for declines collections if it's being resolved in a quicker turnaround. So again, you know, both the Avocado and eCard have made some good arrangements for that, and we, you know, use a process called webhooks that helps to bring that data back and update Avocado so that you can see all of the history right back in the member account within Avocado. Another detail that I thought would be useful to share, we use something in Avocado called an account exception, and these are applied when a member's fees are declined, their payment is declined, and then their membership would be still active, but if they have that balance due, we can place an account exception that basically stops them at entrance or at least provides an alert. Then also we use a mechanism in that so that if that payment schedule item within the account isn't paid, that the account exception is automatically resolved and removed. So that's happening very dynamically. So I just want to point out that when eCard goes out and collects that payment schedule item status is now changed to paid. The account exception gets resolved. So it's a piece of automation working both sides of that, and kind of provides some real extra value, and also gives you the capacity to use some of the power of Salesforce and Avocado to manage that process and keep it rolling. So that's really the scope of what we have done so far with eCard. You heard a little bit about the contact manager, and I think that's a great expansion. It's one that we've not taken advantage of just yet, but both their character, their technical support, their customer support, certainly the gateway, very reliable, so very dependable, somebody I can really recommend. And there's some discussion about eCard offering a new alternative decline payment process that might be available at no cost to a member, so that would bypass those fees. And that's an innovative approach they're looking at bringing together, and Steve tells me that they may have that offering ready very shortly. Now that would include a small fee to the Y or to the organization taking advantage of that, but then it would allow the member to avoid the fees associated with rerun. So very innovative piece, and we're anxious to continue along with that. Craig mentioned the card updater service. That is a critical foundation on that. And just to reiterate, the way that the gateway works are the customer vault, or a client vault as it's called, is where the actual payment card information is stored on the gateway. It is not stored in Avocado, just a secure token back to Avocado. So when those updates are made on the gateway, that's brought back in to Avocado. And this runs on a schedule. You can configure how you want to do it. There is a one-time setup cost to get that going, and a modest monthly cost, but no charge per update. And some other card updater services do charge you when they're making an update. So every card updated may come back and present you with the cost. So just a little something to look for. Most all services can provide, merchants, providers can do card update, because the contract is actually between the card provider service and the card holder to provide that access. So with the exception of very small banks or credit unions that have are carrying their own credit, almost all of them have that capability, and it's super high value. And I think the implementation of card updater by eCard is one I'd say is very solid. That's all I've got. I'll go back on mute or answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, we can definitely do questions now, or I just have one little thing to say, and then we have a question period scheduled. So if it's all right, I'll just take over for a second, Mark. Thank you very much. Present my screen. Thank you both. Just as a few closing comments, I'd like to say thank you to both of you, Craig and Mark. Very, very informative for myself as well, and I hope for everyone that came to the first user group. I will say that the level of integration we've dealt with both Philadelphia and with eCard has been impressive. We've been able to accomplish some great things, and I'm very appreciative for everything that both parties have given. So thank you for that. We'll get into questions in a minute, but as just a reminder, if you're interested in learning more, by all means, reach out to Craig directly. We will be sending his email address to everyone who attended and everyone who was invited. We'll also be sending, feel free to reach out to your account manager, but we'll be sending a recording of this and follow-up information. Additional to that, we'll be sending feedback questionnaire, just a very short one, just to get your feedback on if you like this or not and what other topics you want to see in the future. Speaking about topics, and just reiterating, parroting the meetup.com, we really urge you to sign up at meetup.com, because we are planning a series of events. We believe we know what the first few should and can be, but we want to hear from you guys on what you want to see in the future. The next one that we're actually scheduling is around Avocado navigating childcare subsidies. So obviously that's in response to some of the new laws that are coming out, the new offerings that are coming out. But having said that, it by no means is only limited to the Canadian folks who are affected by some of the new offerings by the federal Canadian government. These features will be available for everyone, including overseas and US, wherever we are. So you'll see that event come out. We'll be inviting everyone that we believe should be invited, and it'll be there in the public for everyone to actually view should they want to see what we're talking about. And with that, I'll hand it over or ask everyone that if they want to unmute and or raise their hand. If they have any questions, please feel free to bring them forward. While we wait oh, there we go, Tamara.
Hello. Just a question. You were saying with the transactions being able to text somebody with a response and press 1 to go to the location, is there an opportunity to have multiple locations, or would it be one centralized number?
That is a great question that I'm going to have to take back with me and research and get back with you. I've never had that brought up, but we can certainly research that and get back with you on the answer.
Thank you very much.
So for those that aren't aware, and I'm speaking on behalf of Philadelphia, but they do have a call center, which I know a lot of people have been discussing as well, which is a nice way of doing it as well. I think it was fairly obvious, but if there's no other questions, I'll ask one that I think you might be interested in. I think Mark and Craig both mentioned that you can choose from a lot of different processors. In our time in discussing this with Craig and Mark, most of the processors that we actually see our customers using and that we integrate into are actually available through this. So it's something that is available, I believe, to most people on this call without changing your processor. Even though, as Mark mentioned, you might want to talk to, Craig. As Craig mentioned, you might want to talk to Craig because they do have a lot of experience in getting you the lowest rates possible in your processing as well. Any other questions? Did such a good job. Oh, Andreas has a question.
Hey guys, thanks again, Craig and Mark, for the presentation. I have one question for Craig. Say, for example, if someone, any association reaches out to you and say, we would like to implement your services, can they establish a time, let's say, for example, after 30 days or after 60 days or after 90 days, because each Y may be different, each association may be different. It's like, I want eCard to start contacting for representment after a certain number of days. Is that something that is set up, or you guys have a specific number of days where you start contacting for recovery?
Now that is a great question. And to answer it, we are very flexible. So just about everything we do within our system, because like you had addressed, each association is pretty much different in the way they handle membership retention, payments, whatever. So yes, we will customize the time frame. For example, right now we've got 10 days all the way up to 60 days. We can also, as Mark alluded to, customize that fee structure. So we've got some YMCAs that divert the fee over to the member, and we have other YMCAs that say, I'll be happy to pay you a fee to do that recovery for us. So again, we're very flexible and customizable for your association. Great question.
I had a quick question, and this might be more for the TechShare team. I know you mentioned that when you collect it, it would communicate back to Avocado and clear that balance and say it'd been paid. But I'm wondering if we've already got an NSF fee on that account, and then you guys would process an NSF fee directly, would it also, Matthew, reconcile the NSF fee order that had been added to the account?
So in short, in the model with Philadelphia, I don't mind taking this, Mark, if that's all right. Okay. The configuration in Philadelphia is that we do not charge the NSF fee within Avocado. But by all means, that integration, if we look at the integrations we have done with eCard and Philadelphia, that is probably another quite simple one. eCard's been really good at being able to give us feeds. So if we had to have a feed that was saying, hey, these were resolved, and link it through to the NSF order, that could, I'm 100% sure that could happen fairly easily. I don't know that we would have that need after we'd talked through what the flow was. One of the things that comes to mind, and please, if anyone has any questions, bring them up. But, Mark, I don't know if you could speak to one of the concerns I know that we have addressed, which I don't believe I heard, was not representing donations, as an example. If a donation, it comes back NSF, it's not be presented. So that is the level of sophistication that is happening here. Mark, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, that's correct. And because we were able to discreetly identify every transaction that's coming through as a payment, we can immediately see the difference. That actually goes to the gateway as a processor account that is a charitable donation, and those are not considered for representment. So that's a good good follow on. And and likewise, we could do the same thing, or even present a different structure around fees on childcare, for instance, as opposed to, again, configurable because of the ability to differentiate by service.
So I think you just said something that I'm going to make sure I point out, Mark, because we've heard this request from a few people on this call. Can I have different fees for different divisions? So if you were having eCard collect the fees, by all means, you can have different fees for different divisions. And as Mark's pointed out, you can also have a scaling fee, which is not an option within our system right now. Both of those things. Yeah.
I think a good chunk. Second question. A good chunk of our declines are from, as you would say, the hard declines, expired credit cards, people updating their credit card information. Could you sort of do an a la carte service where we don't necessarily want you reprocessing the transactions, but we are interested in a service that would just automatically update clients' payment information?
Most certainly, Corey.
Cool. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions or thoughts? We'll be around, stick around for another 5 minutes if anyone wants to stick around and ask questions privately. But I know I'm not putting Mark out there to say if there's ever anything that comes up. We offered next steps as Craig or your account manager, but I'm sure Mark's a pretty open guy. He wouldn't mind taking a question if you felt more comfortable emailing him directly. Is that correct, Mark? Not to put you on the spot.
That's right, with the exception of Seam Chen, who I know is on it. No, kidding. I'm kidding. But the other thing I'm going to add on to this, again, it gets back to the value of a gateway. The other opportunity is to have that account onto the payment gateway, so you have some visibility into that transaction as it moves beyond Avocado, goes to the gateway, and then you can see that there. You may or may not already participate in some of that. Sorry, may not have any access through your card provider, or you might have some of that. But this is another layer of data in there that really helps to keep it straight, especially when you've got transactions that have been declined or refunds that have been made, and some complex, kind of payment scenarios that emerge as time goes on. So yes, whether you include the representment or not, having just the access to the gateway and the card updater, that combination, or could also then include the contact manager component as well. So mix and match, some good opportunities there.
Excellent. I'm really thankful for everyone who took the time today, and I hope there was some value provided. I know there was. I hope everyone sees it. And I look forward to communicating and having others present some of the great things that they're doing within this ecosystem. So thank you. Thanks again, Craig and Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.